What is going on, podcast world? My name is Wes Nile, and I'm starting what I'm hoping will be a weekly podcast for you. I'm not 100% sure where we're going to end up by the end of this year, and this is something that I want you as the audience to help me decide. I've always had a passion for broadcasting, playing music, talking about music, recording music, dissecting music, understanding music history, and I want to take you along for that journey with me. In this first episode, I want to take some time to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about my history making music and being in broadcasting. As a kid, I've always been obsessed with radio. At a young age, my father took me to a radio station, and I watched them spinning CDs. My father also showed me the rudimentary skills of keeping a beat with my hands, and I would pretend to play along to songs in my room on pillows with some drumsticks. I loved listening to and playing music. When I turned 18, I pestered the program director at that same small market radio station I had visited a few years earlier. I'm not sure if he thought I had what it took to be a radio personality, but I landed a gig running board operation for the AM station during local college games. Eventually, my patience paid off. I would end up hosting the night show on their top 40 radio station. I could remember quite a few DJs that I listened to in that exact same slot growing up. I thought I had made it. But my reign as DJ Supreme came to a pretty abrupt end for that nighttime show whenever I made a prank phone call to a local business owner and was fired. I moved to Austin, where I would eventually land a regular gig producing commercials and sweeps for a classic rock radio station where I also hosted a weekend overnight show. Pretty glamorous. That job certainly came with some perks. I never missed an Austin City Limits or a South by Southwest for the 2 years that I was there. However, I would eventually move back to my hometown and bounce around at several jobs not related to media at all, until one day a couple of my friends approached me about some ideas. The first was to start a production company for a live sound and lighting company. The second was to start a podcast.
From the Perpetual Sound Studios in the massively thriving metropolis of San Angelo, Texas.
What?
This is the Friday Night Theme Party with Wes Nile.
Hello, boys and girls.
I would pursue both for a while, but as life often does, my course changed and I found myself in Dallas working for a beverage company and rarely doing music or podcasting. I could never convince myself to sell or pawn my live sound and lighting equipment, and for a while I started a DJ side hustle. That was fun, but not very lucrative. Still, it fed my love for public speaking and fueled my passion for music and live sound. I was also creating a podcast at the time, just not very consistently. I do have some of those archived. They're on my YouTube page. I'll put the link in the description. At this point in my career, beverage had moved me and my family to San Antonio, and DJing really wasn't paying the bills. I had to make a decision. Where was my focus going? For me and my family, I decided I would put all of my efforts into the company I was working for. I took a long time off of making and creating any media, but I have now found myself in a position to make content again. During COVID, I invested in some new instruments to start making music on my own. The world had slowed down for me, and I really started focusing on what had always made me happy and fulfilled, creating media. I started learning my new instruments and practicing my old standby. My beautiful red Premier drum set that I purchased whenever I was 18 years old. For the past 3 years, I've been watching endless YouTube tutorials, reading manuals, and playing and trying to figure out how I can share this niche knowledge with others that are trying to do something similar. In 2023, I turned 40, and now I'm looking to start documenting my progress again and hopefully providing some guidance, inspiration, and entertainment to others in a similar situation. I don't have the best equipment in the game, but I do get some decent results with the equipment I do have. And if you find yourself in a similar scenario, this may be the podcast for you. Think of this as a journal with helpful tips along the way. I am sure we do not have the exact same equipment, but what I have discovered over the past few years is that gear works very similarly, and that it's not always easy to find inspiration or stay consistent with content. I'm not 100% sure what this will be just yet, but I am excited to get started with a few topics that I think most podcasters and music makers will find helpful. I'm going to call this adventure Creative Progress.